Hello, I'm Brady Held, the founder and CEO of Courtroom Animation, a forensic animation and visualization company based out of Los Angeles, California. This is Fireside Forensics. In this episode, we'll be talking about an old case, the Caitlyn Jenner fatal collision that happened in Malibu, California. And while this video series was really designed to talk about cases that were prominent in the news today, the Caitlyn Jenner case is an extremely interesting one to me, as it's the first case of national attention where I realized that forensic animation could make a serious impact on the way the public perceived how a story was really unfolding. So the takeaways of today's episode will really be how forensic animations can have a big impact on the way that stories are understood around the world. And additionally, we'll talk about how continued breakthroughs in visualization technology can really increase the accuracy and the intensity of animations through realism and creating an emotional response in the viewer. Back in 2015, I was working with a good friend of mine who's an accident reconstructionist, and paparazzi photos of the Caitlyn Jenner collision were just released. And we very quickly put together a simulation of what we thought occurred in the collision. And immediately following that, we put together a very quick animation that took no more than a couple hours to create. The next morning, I took that animation and put it on YouTube, and was very unaware of the whirlwind that would occur over the next 24 hours. So within half an hour of putting that video on YouTube, I got a call on my cell phone from TMZ, and they asked me if they could put the video on the front page of their website. As I had a relatively new business at the time, I thought it would be fantastic publicity, and it was a bit chaotic from there. Within 24 hours, the YouTube video had over 1 million views. I was interviewed by many primetime news telecasts, and really the story was written about by every major newspaper all around the world. Up until this point, coverage around the Caitlyn Jenner collision was that Caitlyn Jenner was involved in a collision where a woman lost her life. Once we produced our video and the general public could see the entire event from a very clear perspective, the narrative switched, and it was now Caitlyn Jenner caused a fatal collision. That was an enlightening moment for me, realizing that a forensic animation could be used to change public's perception on how something occurred. Once the public had a better understanding of the entire event, they had a better ability to be able to say who was at fault. Now, since 7 years have passed since the creation of this animation, technology has really changed, and forensic animation has caught up to the entertainment industry in the ability to create very highly accurate and realistic looking animations. In preparation of this video, I decided to go back and reanimate the Caitlyn Jenner collision. And I wanted to see what the difference would be between animation techniques we used 7 years ago and now, and how that would change the viewer's perception of the collision. The first thing I did was I went to Malibu and flew a drone and collected a lot of footage and photographs in order to create a very accurate and realistic looking environment on which the animation could take place. The original animation took place on top of Google Earth satellite imagery, and the new drone imagery really adds a lot of realism and accuracy to the environment. This is the entire original animation. It tells a clear story and leaves the viewer with a good understanding of the mechanics of this collision. This is the new animation. It has the exact same motion and the exact same mechanics as the old animation. However, it has a more realistic environment, more realistic lighting, damage to the vehicles, and some basic effects that add a lot of realism to the entire visualization. These realistic effects add a serious amount of intensity to the animation. And while the story is the same, the viewer has more of an emotional response to the severity of the collision. As a forensic animator and really as a storyteller, it's my job to create some sort of response in the viewer, and part of that certainly is an emotional response. New animation techniques and technology can further increase the response within the viewer, leaving them with a lasting impression and clear understanding of what happened. Thank you for watching this episode. I have some really exciting guests that I'll be bringing on the show in the coming episodes, so stay tuned.